Good morning, everyone, and welcome to, yes, it is the 14th of May, Conquer the Clutter. It's good to see everybody. I want to follow up today with how to move forward, how to get beyond stuck, how to get beyond either procrastinating or giving into perfectionism, wherever you are on that continuum, okay? So, the first thing is, please remember, don't wait to feel like starting. Right? If there's something that needs to be done, you can't count on waiting. And the waiting will not necessarily prepare you any further, anymore to feeling ready. All right. So if you wait until you feel like starting, the fact is, you may never get started. All right. You may never initially from the outset feel ready. So don't wait for that. You may never feel totally prepared that you have enough of something to start. Don't expect to want to start. All right. As I said last week, some tasks, I find even myself, are justifiably unpleasant, they're tedious, and they're plain old boring. All right. Nobody that I know, all right, wakes up in the morning and says, gee, I can hardly wait to just get to that thing I've been putting off. I know I have to, and I will, but it's not the highlight of my day until it's behind me. If you wait until you want to do something, you may end up waiting forever. All right. Know this, though, it is possible and often necessary, really necessary, to make yourself start, to find a way to start without being either in the mood or that feeling ready feeling. Okay. Once you do get started, follow through. Don't give up. Don't stall out. And here's how to follow through after you take the first few steps. Though, know that those first few steps are giving you momentum. They're giving you the energy, the focus. All right. It also gives you the chance to finish. You can't finish that job or that task if you don't take the first few steps. And getting up off the couch, getting started, is always the hardest part. When you start, or when you're at that moment of decision, consider to yourself, which is easier? Taking the chance that by taking those first few steps that you really wish you didn't have to take, you don't really want to take, is that easier on you? Is that better for you than what you're going to do when you don't take those first few steps? So look at the other times that maybe you have the intent, you just don't have the momentum and you didn't start. How did you judge yourself? Well, generally, when it's a habit, people judge themselves pretty harshly. All right. And for how long? Sometimes people do that to the extent that they start to almost wear it like a tattoo on their soul. Like, this is who I am. No, it isn't. It doesn't have to be. All right. Now, if you've majored in procrastination, you've probably encountered the habit. Oh my goodness sakes. I'm sorry. Hold on a moment. Sorry, people. Oh my gosh. St. John's, Newfoundland calling me. Okay, hold on. Oh no. Sorry, people. Braden, you're really going to have to. I forgot to turn the phones off. Hold on, people. I have two phones here. This is just a. Okay. There we go. Good. All right. Good. Start over. Braden, pick it up from here. All right. So if you've majored in procrastination, and many of you have shared that this is something you struggle with, you have already encountered the habit and the cycle of making the effort and then slowing down, giving up, or getting distracted altogether. All right. Which of those three do you find is your pattern, your most common pattern when you fail to follow through? All right. How many people who have a habit of procrastination feel that they start with some level of optimism? All right. And then at some point along the way, you get stuck. What sticks you? What are you getting stuck on? Because if you don't identify that, how far into that process and what either happens or what you say to yourself that causes you to get derailed, give up, get distracted, right? How many people here stay stuck about that project? Here's how to stop yourself from perpetually disappointing yourself. All right. Always caused by yet another incomplete project. Plain and simply, watch out for our excuses, and we all have them. Last week, I asked you to write down what you say to yourself. You know, that self talk, it often boils down to either hidden, covert, they're not obvious excuses, or overt, they're good friends. You've said this to yourself many times, and this is the way you kind of derail yourself, beat yourself up. What are you saying to yourself? Is there a pattern there? Is there something that you are more likely, more vulnerable to beat yourself up about? Okay. Were you aware of encountering any excuses along the way? As you tried to do your homework about that project and watching the self talk, did any of your self talk include excuses that you have in the past identified? And how often do you go back to those? How well did they work for you last time? Maybe it's time to put them to bed. All right. Maybe it's time to just pack them up and bury them, not inside yourself, but outside yourself, by really looking at how true they are. Okay. Remember that an excuse means, this is the positive part of when we're trying to come up. Well, we don't really have to work at coming up with excuses. They generally self-propel, is the truth. All right. But remember that an excuse means positively that you're at a choice point. Okay. You can procrastinate or you can act. And nothing says that you have to act full throttle forward. Instead of delaying automatically and giving into listening and feeding and playing out and doing whatever you do with the self-talk in your head that are excuses, at that same point, you also have the ability, and it would be a far wiser choice to put your energy into this, rework your excuse. All right, rework it and change the conclusion that you make about yourself, about the job, and your ability to even just put a dent in it today. Instead of I'll do it later, okay, I'll get back to it. Oh, yeah, I just remembered. Whatever it is that distracts you, derails you, instead of allowing yourself to justify doing it later, later never comes. That's what that word means. Why not say something like, I don't feel like doing this. I really don't feel like doing this. But I'm going to set that clock, that alarm on my watch, on my phone, on whatever. Everybody's got a cell phone now. And I'm just going to spend 15 15 minutes putting a dent in it. And I'm going to do that now. I'm not going to do it later. You can't promise the future. The future is an unknown. You have no idea when you delay things. When I delay things, all of us delay things. We have no idea what's coming. We think we know what our day is going to be. How many people had exactly the week they thought they were going to have? It doesn't work that way. That's why they call it future. All right. You can always use the excuse as a reminder, as a little warning bell. No, I said I was going to do this. I really don't feel like doing it, but I'm going to do 15 minutes of it. I'm not going to make myself accomplish it in 15 minutes. I'm just going to put a dent in it. All right. And then offer yourself a reward at the end of overcoming that small hurdle. So after you've taken some steps towards your goal, reward, reward, reward. All right. Because that is a big thing. You may only have put a 15-minute dent in that task. However, it's more than you've done in the past when it was all or nothing. Let go of the concept all. All right. When you really don't feel like it, 15 minutes, 15-minute intervals, even when you don't want to do it. Anybody can do anything for 15 minutes. Now, when you're giving yourself a reward, there are some danger signs, okay? Netflix, or I understand something called Candy Crush, are not good types of rewards because they tend to cause the person to lose themselves in this type of activity, all right? Do something that gets the system moving. Go for a walk. Go for something on the treadmill. Go for cuddle your dog or your cat. Go for something that is not all absorbing that you can lose yourself in. All right. Spend a half hour. Spend the same amount of time giving yourself a reward as you spent on putting a dent in the task. Figure it out. There are lots of options, I'm sure. But keep in mind that an excuse is also an invitation, and it should be a warning bell to explore how you really truly feel about this goal. Does it feel bigger than you are? Chunk it down. Chunk it down. When I am taking on a task or a project that feels like, whoa, I know I'm going to do this, but how am I going to do it? I always picture the pyramids, and I think, you know what? Sometimes something isn't a one-person job. And so am I setting myself against a task that isn't a one-person job? Maybe I don't have enough correct, usable information. Maybe I need more information. So, but I don't use that as an escape hatch. All right. I say, all right, I had the idea that this had to happen, needs to happen. What is it possible for me to do right now? What small initial part of this can I do? And you know something? There always is something I can do. Does it complete the task? No. But then I probably wasn't, maybe I misjudged. I probably wasn't ever going to complete that task or project as I initially pictured it. Okay? Accept that. Are you ambivalent? What is the ambivalence about this project? Don't get stuck in the negatives. There are always solutions. They may not be immediate. Okay. Is there something about the project or the task that makes you feel fearful, but you're not really aware of it? Are you feeling resentful? You really shouldn't have to do this. One part of you resents the other part of you. You know, the part of you that goes on holiday on Netflix or whatever you absorb yourself in. The other part of you, I have Frick on this shoulder and Frack on this shoulder, Frick and Frack, and they argue with each other all the time. All right. And I have to be the arbiter. So am I angry about this project? Am I angry about having to do it? What are the true feelings behind it that make it feel either not important enough or almost bigger than I am? All right. Now, try really hard, all right, not to get distracted. Those kinds of feelings give us a kind of approval for delay. All right. If you've told yourself that this project needs doing, you are the arbiter of frick and frack. All right. When we start making excuses, it's the argument that frick and frack are having. It's a really good time to take a few minutes. Just step outside of it for a moment and pay attention to what you're thinking and what you're feeling, and maybe what it reminds you of from previous experiences. Because if you take that time, short time, to reflect, all right, that's going to help you generate some clarity that's going to help you to act, all right? And chances are, when you incorporate some awareness of what you're thinking and feeling, you're going to make some kind of an adjustment that is a better approach to the way you originally had it planned. And that's okay. All right. So, what is there to learn from your internal self talk? You know, the argument Frick and Frack are having. What is there to learn from it? Well, depending on how often you access excuses or the types of tasks or projects that generate the most dominant excuses, that kind of self talk can be really, really, really important if you listen to it, if you respect it. Don't give in to it, but be aware of it. Remember, it is almost never, this is a biggie, people, write it down. It is almost never the event itself that harms us, that self talk. It's the meaning we apply to it that can derail us, that can distract us, that can take away our focus. All right. Self talk, that frick and frack argument, expresses that meaning. All right. The meaning we're feeling at the moment, that moment in time. Listen to it, particularly if it's a repeat dialogue you're having with yourself and a project or getting started. Right? It's about nothing else but ourselves. It really isn't about the project. So to regain ourselves, slow down. Make yourself focus on one step at a time. If you're having trouble getting started, one step at a time. That's where my imagining of how the pyramids got built, all right, is they had to do that one block of stone at a time. All right. And they didn't have what they needed either. And if they can do that, and it didn't happen, Rome wasn't built in a day. And I know that the pyramids aren't in Rome, but Rome wasn't built in a day. I can do this. If I come about it respecting what I'm saying to myself, what I'm feeling, what I'm thinking, and I work around the obstacles 15 minutes at a time. Focus on one step at a time, especially when we feel uncertain or we feel challenged about how to make the progress. And sometimes it isn't about how to make the progress with the project. That's pretty straightforward. Sometimes it's about how to make progress with managing ourselves one step at a time. Just take one step at a time. And if you make yourself do this, you're actually shortening the length of time it'll take you to reach whatever is the first goal. All right. Maybe not complete the whole project, but to accomplish. Remember, we talked last week about when we're bumping our head on something or something turns out to be bigger or tougher or something more than we thought, set an interim goal. Still a goal. It's still part of the completion of the total project. If you listen to the internal dialogue and you take a break or a reward, all right? A break is a reward when you use it as a reward, not when you use it as avoidance. All right. Catch your breath, another tiny step, one step at a time. You will actually get there faster than if you don't take one step at a time and give yourself a timeout, reward, whatever it is. All right. Interim goals are an excellent, successful compromise for long-term success because you're still moving forward, even if it's only baby steps. Doesn't matter. It's still a step. And at each step, the more you take baby steps, the more as you look back, there will be behind you that has been completed. Even baby steps have completion behind them. All right. It's one of the most important steps to reducing procrastination or any tendency to procrastinate. Work around the obstacles using what you've got in the way of tools, resources, skills, and energy and focus. Even if things aren't going smoothly in the beginning, know this for sure. At some point, you will find a workaround. And even if things are going very smoothly at the beginning, don't be disappointed if you find something you bump your head on. Sooner or later, there's going to be an obstacle. You're going to encounter a challenge, all right, in continuing to make continuous progress. The progress may not be as you thought, step 1, step 2, step 3, in progression and continuous. That's the reason that this project, this task, isn't done. All right. It's a given for every one of us. It is no reflection on you or me, who we are, how successful we are, how competent we are, how whatever the word is you want. If you continue to persist, baby steps, all right, you can figure it out, all right? And maybe sometimes even in that moment, you can't figure it out. Some logistical problem. I've got a logistical problem in my office right now. And I'm sitting here, before I came to speak with you, how am I going to work that out? And I've got options. Obviously, none of them are preferred options or they'd be done, but we're going to work it out. And maybe it'll work out really well, and maybe it won't. I'll only know that once I try. Okay. Now, if you really just don't feel like it at that point, all right, you've reached a critical moment. All right. It's an obstacle. Remember this though, those who procrastinate are more likely, if you procrastinate rather than do the 15-minute chunk, if you allow yourself to procrastinate, you're habituating that pattern and you are likely to come to a grinding halt. Keep the momentum even when the momentum is slower. If it's a really bad day, all right, for whatever reason, don't judge the reason. Break your 15 minutes down into 3 5 minutes. You'd be surprised at 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes. You're still moving forward and you are still going to cross that finish line. And we all have to do that. Sometimes we all have to do that. I have to do it. You have to do it. There's nothing wrong with that. Don't be impatient. Okay? When an obstacle can't be easily removed or overcome, all right, any hiccup, big or small, can become a real source of frustration. Take a break, catch your breath, and go back and do 15 minutes. All right? When you do that 15 minutes, either in one chunk or in 3 chunks of 5, you're overcoming defeatism. You're putting a dent back in feeling discouraged, especially if when you've stopped, you take that as proof that you're inadequate. You are something, even if it's not inadequate. It says something negative about you. No, that's why you are definitely always worth 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes. All right. It is not. It is like an inoculation, okay, a vaccine against feeling that you failed or that something is bigger than you are. It isn't. 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes. If you feel defeated by any obstacle, all right, if you allow that to happen, and anybody can do anything for 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes, in whatever sequence you can manage, right? If you allow yourself to feel defeated by an obstacle, you will have trouble returning to the problem or the task. But if you treat the obstacle like a puzzle, yeah, I don't think so. I say that many, many times. Yeah, I don't think so. We're going to find some answer that yields enough of what I need, and we're going to do it. I don't care how long it takes. We're going to persist. Treat it like a puzzle. What is the piece that's in the way, and what is even a small answer to that? It's not a barrier. It's not a setback. Because when I find the answer to this little hiccup, all right, and I've got a hiccup here, the rest isn't going to be as difficult. This hiccup is a challenge. It's a puzzle. When you take it as a puzzle, something to be dissected and figure out what the parts are that aren't working, what you have going for you, what your goal is, it becomes easier to work around. Your brain is more creative then. You're not in that negative, discouraged, beating yourself up, judging yourself energy. Nobody ever overcame anything difficult by feeling less about themselves, people. When you're challenged, when you have a setback, don't take it as defeat. Don't make it about you are something less than you want to be. No. Okay? No. Critique the plan, not the person. Critique the plan, not the person. All right? And do it by reflecting on the task, which has become some little part of an obstacle, all right, it's an obstacle. It's not criticism that there's something lacking in you, that you have this issue or that you can't overcome it or that it's not straightforward and easy. Some things aren't. And if you don't have the information, somebody somewhere has it. Quite often, I swear, quite often, I'm doing this. I'm thinking, okay, maybe the problem is you don't have the information. Who has the information you need? I don't expect myself to have the answers. Certainly not to things that I haven't got expertise in or that I'm not particularly good at, like that darn printer back there. Who has the information? Who is good at it? Ask for help. Ask for advice. Get more information. Okay? It isn't about you. It's about the hiccup. Sometimes your best choice is take a break, a short break, and regroup. If you decide to take a break, this is really, really important, all right, so it doesn't become avoidance. You got to set a specific time and a specific place to pick up where you left off. So in my little hiccup, I have 2 specific places that I need to start with, 2 of them, because there's an interaction between the 2. I'm not going to be able, chances are I'm not going to be able to do it all by myself. One of the options is going to require something physically that I just, even if I could do it, I don't want to do it. So I will get help. I will ask for help. Who can help you? Where is the help you need? Okay, and then do pick it up. Pick it up where you left off. All right. The danger for those who procrastinate is that, and if you've developed that habit, all right, that go-to, the danger for those who have habituated some level of procrastination is that withdrawing isn't temporary. Okay. They give into it. And as they give into it, there's a tendency to give up and feel defeated. Or where there's any degree of ADD or ADHD, they get distracted and they veer off course. Okay. Reward yourself. When you decide, I need to stop, I need to catch my breath, I need to regroup. All right. Go and do something else that distracts you for a set amount of time. And know yourself before you leave the task, exactly where you're coming back to and exactly where you're starting from. All right. Reward yourself that you've made some, and look around you. Reward yourself, even though you may be taking a break. That's okay. A break's a break. It isn't giving up. When you look around, even if it is 15 minutes, that's why I say if it is a large task like piles in a room, start in a corner, one corner. There's no magic corner. And work linearly. Put your hand on one thing and resolve it. Put your hand on the next thing and resolve it. And so on and so on and so on. Because it's really important that you have something to look at. When it's a big task, it feels overwhelming. You have one gradual area that is increasing in not being cluttered. That is the reward, the validation that you are making progress. All right. We all need to feel those elements of progress that we're making. That's a reward we give ourselves. All right. Now, if you have been stuck with piles, if you have procrastinated, chances are the self-talk, all right, what you're saying to yourself is probably not kind or supportive or helpful. All right. Stop right now and ask yourself, when things aren't going well and you talk to yourself about it, all right, are you making excuses? Because if you're making excuses, the whole rest of you knows that. Nobody's buying a pig in a poke. All right. Nobody's buying that. There are whole parts of yourself that are going, not quite true. Well, maybe not the entire truth. All right. Okay. We'll go with that. Are you being harsh with yourself? Are you being judgmental and unkind? If somebody else was struggling, would you say that to them? Would you? That's the acid test, I think, of whether you're being too harsh and too judgmental and unkind to yourself. Nobody ever overcame anything difficult by feeling less about themselves. So don't do that to yourself. Okay? Know this, that if you have a tendency to procrastinate, you're far more likely to be someone who finds fault with yourself. Praise isn't something that you probably have given yourself enough of, or even where it was warranted. You probably found some fault with even something that warranted some level of praise. Don't do that to yourself. All right? Don't do that to self. Okay, so when it's not ideal, that's okay. It's not meant to be perfect. All right? Accomplish as much as you ideally would like to. If it's not working well that way, do it a little differently, however differently you have to continue making progress. And when you stop and you look at it, don't critique it for faults. Don't find the progress you're making inadequate. All right. Give yourself some reinforcement. I talked a lot today about rewards. I want you to take a minute right now and I want you to write down 5 types of rewards that you can give yourself that are available to you, that are you friendly, and that would be, you'd come back feeling a little more satisfied with yourself, happy, energized. A reward can be anything that you enjoy that makes you feel good. Okay. Try to make the reward equal to the accomplishment. Okay. After you do an hour of work toward your behaviorally observable goal. Okay. Taking the rest of the day off might not be your best plan. Things should be commensurate with whatever the effort, the goal, and the goal. The reward should be equal to that. Okay. Okay. That's the way to keep it effective, because right after, and the other important fact about it is when you're giving the reward, don't make it off in the future. The most effective rewards that will re-energize you to be able to at some immediate time continue with the project, those rewards happen right after the effort is made. All right. And the reason that they do is that the reward acts as a positive reinforcement. Okay. So effort, challenge, reward, feel good. All right. And that reinforcement increases, it's only natural that it increases the likelihood that you made progress and you will continue to go back and make more progress. That will be repeated. And when you achieve a goal, all right, that reward gives you a blast of dopamine. And dopamine is the feel-good neurotransmitter. Remember, we've talked about the hormonal bath? Dopamine is a really good thing to have in your hormonal bath. All right? Because that happy feel-good feeling makes it more likely you will want more of that, because you will associate it with positiveness inside yourself. You can feel it, okay? And the things that cause you to feel that may be things that are causing the problem. But you can also have a burst of dopamine about achieving something that undoes a problem as well. Okay, it works both ways. Success leads to more success. Instead of holding on to an impossible ideal, so that's a way to cheat yourself, because the impossible ideal, when you hold that out as the only acceptable result, you're never going to get there. Impossible is impossible, people. All right? Impossible is impossible. And I would say that after repeated efforts, if the goal that you have set for yourself is still feels out of reach, treat it as though temporarily, at this point in time, that is not the goal. That is not an acceptable goal. Remember the interim goal. Achieve the interim goal, the smaller goal, and then set another one. Okay? It doesn't have to be perfect. If you make the goal, the only acceptable goal, having to be perfect, you're chasing the horizon. You never get to the horizon. All right? You're chasing the horizon. You're defeating yourself. And you are not going to get any dopamine hits. All right? So, might that be a reason that you feel discouraged, or you feel some negativity toward your effort, your success? The goal has to be possible. And you'd be surprised when you feel good, all right, when you reward yourself little bit, little bit, little bit, little bit, commensurate with the effort you make. It's amazing how much more ground you cover. All right. So know this. We're going to end on this. If we never make mistakes, we can never learn from them. So there is no mistake that is a failure. The mistakes or the lack of whatever is a puzzle. Work around the obstacle. Work the puzzle. There are answers, and maybe there's more information. Maybe there's more something that you need. Who has that? And who knows it better than you do? Don't be afraid to ask for help. Okay, everybody, we have 10 minutes. Why don't we open the floor? Are there any questions? Dawn, are there any questions?
I'm not seeing any hands up yet. There were some questions in the chat box about how to deal with exhaustion and fatigue as part of the problem.
Okay, it depends on what the exhaustion and fatigue is a result of. Is it mental fatigue, a change, when I say a change, I mean a change of scene, a change of mind, a change of thought. All right, a break would be in order. If it's physical, enduring, sustained fatigue, I would suggest you go to your doctor and you have a physical. If you haven't had one in the last 6 months or last year, go have a physical and find out what the reason is, because it has to be realistic, people. All right. If you are constantly exhausted, that's not normal. All right. That is not normal. And so find out, is it a physical problem? Is it some level of depression? Some level of something else? All right. Find out what the reason is. There are answers. All fatigue is not the same. Okay, who else?
Ola has her hand up.
Okay, Ola, yeah.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Yeah, I have a question. So for me, I get truly discouraged when my husband is trying to point at the top of Mount Everest, um, and that I have to achieve that at some point. Not right away, but it is such a high goal that is completely unrealistic. And um, and when I say, when I voice that it is an unrealistic expectation, even in the long term, he doesn't even want to address it because it's too scary because of what that means for our relationship. And
Mhm.
so I feel instantly discouraged to do anything because I'm like, well, I'm never going to get there.
Well, you're never going
So,
to get to Mount Everest, that's for sure, Ola.
well, yeah, that's a
Yeah,
given. But
yeah, that's a
you know,
given. So if I could, um, my first assumption is that you and he have a different vision. You have a different perception, all right, of what that mountain looks like. And so if it was me in that situation, what I would ask the other person is, all right, but we will find out whether Mount Everest is ever achieved, but we will find it out by baby steps. So, what would be the first? Let's negotiate on what is the first doable baby step. And when I get really good at that, if it seems fair and equitable, then I will have some steam behind me. I will have a better sense, because if I'm hearing that, and I don't know if this is right or not, that you're having an experience of defeat, defeat, defeat. All right.
yes,
Yeah. Okay. So if you have an experience, nobody's doing that to you, though, necessarily. I don't know the reality here, but don't assume that the other person is doing that to you. All right. Because it's irrelevant. If you can't reach whatever the goal is anyway, it's irrelevant. The goal is irrelevant, really. It's that progress be made. And it is to your benefit, maybe not his, maybe nobody else's. It's to your benefit to set and reach small, achievable, repeated goals. All right, because that will pull you out of defeatism. All right, and defeatism is a state of fear often, but also of giving up and being overwhelmed.
yes, exactly.
Okay, however, you're the one who loses if you don't negotiate for. So I'm interested, I would say, I'm interested in what that looks like to you. You do realize that that's what you see. How can we set a goal that is achievable? And that is what I will work toward. Now, nobody else is dictating it, you negotiate it. All right. And then when you get good at that, negotiate a little bit higher, a little bit higher, a little bit higher, until you're at a level where you think, this is where my life is. This is good. This is rewarding. This is a good place to be. I would take the other person's suggestion as not as criticism. It probably feels like criticism, and I'm not saying it isn't. I'm just saying when you interpret it, it's not to your benefit to interpret it that way. All right. And you're not a child, you're an adult. So what would be the first goal? If you're feeling defeated, then you already know there's work you want to do, right? You don't want to stay in that position. So it's
No.
to your benefit to set that interim goal that is a baby step. And when you've got that nailed, you set another one that's a little higher in the direction that you want and believe your life was meant to go. Okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Kay, Kay has her hand up.
Hi, Kay.
Hi, thank you for the presentation. Yeah, so I realized when you say like 5 minutes, should I take another 5 minutes break? And I think, what happens with me is that it takes me a while to get started, to go and start it, but I think I've allowed myself to do like a lot of time because I'm scared of never coming back to it. But yeah, but I think I hear what you're saying. Maybe it's 5 minutes at a time, and maybe make that a habit, and make.
So Kay,
So
the secret,
Mhm.
Kay, it's not a secret. I think that the best plan is to habituate even a smaller effort, because it really truly isn't lock the front door, take the phone off the hook, and spend the weekend cleaning up, and we have a fresh start. And yeah, but whatever the habits of life of yourself, your children, whoever else you live with, creates that thing you don't want, that if that doesn't change, you're going to be every 3 months taking the phone off the hook and locking the front door and repeat. What is what is really needed is the little bit done regularly. We're talking regularly. When you set a time, a day, a time, whatever it is, all right, that every day you make sure that either you or the people you live with undo their contribution to the overall problem, whether it's leaving things lying around, making messes, whatever it is. If you don't make today's work tomorrow's problem, then it's not increasing behind you. It's not happening behind you, so that the task feels endless. Do you see what I mean?
Mhm.
So whereas if you set chunks of time that are doable, and you also, if you live with other people, you also expect them to pitch in and contribute, all right, then you're staying ahead of it all the time. It's never perfect because people are living in that environment, but it's never a problem either. And really, truly, the 15-20 minutes a day, all right, will get you repeated, will get you further than the big major effort with whatever is causing the problem happening behind you.
Okay.
Was
Yeah.
that clear?
Yeah, that sounds promising. Definitely.
So then you decide. All right. If you've done it the other way, try it this way for maybe a month. All right. That you're going to do 15, 20 minutes. All right. That's it. Set a timer. All right. And pick an area that is bothering you the most, that gives you the most feeling of, thank heavens, that's at least less than it was. All right. But at the same time, you and the others keep up with whatever the, the dishes, the cleanup after meals, you drop something, you pick it up, you put it in recycling, the recycling goes out, the garbage, that kind of thing. That is happening behind the scenes as you're making slow progress. That'll keep it done. It'll get it done, take longer, it'll get it done, but it will keep it done. And that will also prevent whatever the buildup is every day from being that thing you're not seeing while you're working on what has already become a problem. By the end of it, it'll take you longer, but by the end of it, you'll have habituated maintaining well enough, not perfectly, but well enough. And the effort you've made to get this other already existing problem fixed, that will remind you in your mind, all right? When you are tempted, or they're tempted to repeat whatever caused this problem, you say, don't put it down, put it away. All right. I don't really want to do it. I don't really want to do that. Just do it now. It never gets easier. If I leave it, I have a bigger problem. And I'm not going to be any happier. I'm not going to want to do it more at another time. It's just a job I don't really want to do. So do it now, because it never gets easier. And you will find, if you start that, Kay, that you'll be doing that one thing at a time. I say that to myself 50 times a day when whether it's clothes that have to be hung up or whatever. All right. And that means that behind me, there isn't a problem growing. And that's a relief. Now, nothing's ever really perfect, but you know what? It's well and truly good enough.
Great.
Okay? Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, people. I will see you next week. And I wish you happy hunting with the projects that you're working on. And let me know. Don't forget, please do keep listening to the self-talk. Does it empty you, or does it truly, accurately support you? Not necessarily in a compliment, but in you're better and stronger for telling yourself the honest truth, not beating yourself up and punishing yourself and feeling less than, because that's not accurate. All right? We'll see you next week, everybody. Take care.